Long time no see, Sue.
I know.
Oh,
I got an email back from Mark, but it was just in answer to the thing where I said we were being brave. He says, cool, but it didn't have the script.
Oh, it didn't?
Nicole's there too. I see Nicole here.
How many people do we need?
We need 5 for a quorum. And I asked people, I know Maureen is not going to be here. Jim had surgery this morning.
Who did?
Jim Donnelly.
Oh, okay.
He's having his, I forget whether it's his right or his left knee replaced. He had one done and he's getting the other one done today. So she's tied up with him. I think his surgery was scheduled for like 7:30 this morning.
Was she even able to go down there?
Yes, they made arrangements for her to be there.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Ashley's logged in, but she's not there. I see her. Oh, there's David. Hi, David. Oh, he's muted.
Unmute, David.
Yeah,
Okay, there we go.
There
there
you
he is. Hi.
Okay.
Hello, how's everybody?
Good. Hi, Sue. She's muted too. She didn't hear me. Oh, look at Ashley with her mask on.
So we have someone from the public joining in. I'm just getting him set up in the other room.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So it's just going to be a few minutes for me anyway.
Do we know this individual? Oh, she's muted again.
Well, we'll just have to be surprised.
I guess. I know Ann Esmond is supposed to be joining us.
Maybe it's Santa.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice, huh?
It's not even after Halloween. It can't be Santa yet.
That's true. That's true.
Well, I don't know. They generally have Christmas decorations out before they have Halloween.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. What's the world coming to?
Maybe it's the Great Pumpkin then.
My gosh,
Oh,
it's
the Great Pumpkin.
129. We do have a quota though. We have 5 of us, counting myself. We count me, so we can move ahead, I guess.
Well, is it time?
Well, it's
No.
129.
Yeah, I guess we gotta wait a minute.
Yep.
Do you have that thing ready to read?
Oh, I do. I've got it right here.
All right.
Right here.
Excellent.
You should
Oh,
set that
it's
up.
becoming like, oh, yeah, I have to always remember to find it.
There we go.
So,
I got it buried in my phone. Every time I need it, I can't find it, but every time I'm not looking, it shows up. So-
yeah, well,
But
I
you
tried-
can read it today.
oh,
Yeah.
it is something else, you know. I can't even find the raise your hand function on my screen now. I had trouble at our last meeting seeing everybody. I think I've got it straightened out now. At least I'm
Yeah.
seeing all of you now. So hopefully I'll see most everybody.
I'll be darned if I know where that thing is. Oh, wait a minute.
Here's Mark. Yep, Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Good.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Mark.
Okay. Hello. I was on
Welcome.
a Zoom meeting earlier and my microphone didn't work, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, Ashley was telling us we have somebody from the public she's setting up on Zoom in another room down there. Hi,
Okay.
hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
darn. Mm. Just amazing.
Was,
No.
All right, I think it's 1:30. It's 1:31, so I'm going to, and we have a quorum. So good afternoon, and it is 1:31. And I'd like to formally open the COA special board meeting on Monday, September 28th. And this meeting is being held virtually through Zoom. Bear with me while I read our mandatory explanation of things. The town of Littleton began conducting remote participation / Zoom meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law on March 19th, 2020. Since that time, unanticipated legal concerns relating to the open meeting law have been brought to our attention by the town clerk. Those concerns were supported by the Attorney General's office and confirmed by town council. One concern is that the chat function allows a parallel text conversation to a board's public meeting. Chat is essentially running commentary that is occurring, but it is not moderated or followed by the chair. All participants and listeners may not be aware of comments being made because some meeting participants join by phone and do not see these conversations. Another concern is conversations between residents within the chat room, which are not incorporated into the public record. In response to these concerns, the town will implement the following changes, which will in no way prohibit any member of the public from participating in the discussion and sharing information during a public meeting, and will ensure that all listeners and participants have equal access to this meeting. People that join the Zoom meeting are set so their microphones are muted. If you call in by phone, please use the *6 to mute or unmute your phone. So that the meeting can occur in an orderly fashion, we ask that people who join keep their microphones on mute so background noises do not interfere with the meeting. If you wish to participate in the meeting, please use the raise your hand function available on the Zoom, or if you called in by phone, dial *9, which will activate the raise your hand function. The meeting host will notify the chairperson of the raised hands, and the chairperson will determine whether and when to allow public comment. When called upon, participants should unmute, then state their name and address. After speaking, we request the participant return their microphone back to mute. And just so you all know, this is a live and recorded meeting. And welcome, everybody. Hi, Amy. I think we're going to have our guest today. Ann Espin is going to be joining us, I hope, at some point. And she's very knowledgeable about the senior citizen property tax work-off program, and that's why she's going to be joining us. So if I can just remind you all again, and the public, this is an open meeting, and we have to adhere to the open meeting laws. I would request the board members to, put your phones, cell phones, etc. on, shut the ringer off anyway, and try to not have landlines and things of that nature close by, so that put yourself on mute if the phone starts to ring. And with having said that, I'm doing better. Our last meeting, I could not see people, and I had difficulty knowing when if you were wishing to speak. Myself, even though Nicole and Ashley are going to be helping to monitor that for me. But bear with me, and we will get to you. If people which helping me last time realized that somebody had their hand raised, so hang in there with us. It's not intentional to not acknowledge someone, trust me. Having said all that, welcome, Ann. I was just saying before you arrived that we were expecting you to be here, And if the board notices, our agenda is a little strange because we have put new business, the Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Program, on the agenda as coming first, and normally that comes after the old business. But Ann Esmond was gracious enough to join us today, and we wanted to pick her brain while she's still with us.
While I still have one?
Yes. We're going to be missing her a lot when her retirement date is arriving soon. It comes fast, it seems to me. But anyway. And Ashley raised this concern. She is exploring and considering looking to see if there's a way that we can open up the Senior Citizen Tax Work-Off Program in some fashion. We've had calls. People are getting nervous about not being able to try to earn money to, help pay their real estate taxes. So with having said that, why don't I turn it over to you, Ashley, and you can speak to your concerns. I think the board needs to discuss it and see if we can't figure out if there is a way to partially open up the program or whatever. And so we need to pick everybody's brain today. And that's exactly why Ann is going to be here with us too. So go ahead, Ashley.
Sure, happy to. I just want to let folks know that last year we had 134 workers in the program, 107 participants, 11 individuals on proxy, and then 12 people were enrolled, but they ended up not participating in the program last year. As you mentioned, Marge, as of today, the program is presently on hold, and we are hoping to restart the program. Due to COVID-19, many of the usual employment opportunities may not be available. We have heard from several departments, but there is space concern in finding appropriate, suitable, and safe space for the senior tax work-off employees to work within the building. Town employees have been relocated to different spaces. Some folks are not operating in their original workstation, but are operating out of conference rooms, so which also leads to less space for the senior tax work-off employees. We are aware that some folks enrolled in the program do work outdoors. And I think what it comes down to is that we're foreseeing the possibility of not having enough jobs for the folks that would be interested. We do not have numbers yet in terms of folks interested in the program. The way that we would be able to obtain that information is to poll previous participants and set up registration dates to get a better handle on how many people are interested in the program this year. So if the stars align, we would have, the same amount of jobs for the same amount of people interested in the program. But I just, based on previous numbers and how many people have been participating previously, I don't see that to be the case. So that's where we're at with the program. I do know some folks have called to see if their hours that they've worked already would be counted towards the program, but the program hasn't officially started. So I don't see how that could happen. But those are some of our thoughts. I don't know, Nicole, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I think you covered everything. I wanted to also mention people who think that they're working towards their hours, to just be cautious of that since the program hasn't started.
Okay, that's really unfortunate that people are thinking that. I'm thinking, and it almost seems like a very complex job to try to organize it in such a way that we are being fair and equitable, et cetera, because the numbers almost have to be reduced, it seems. But anyway. Ann, do you have anything you want to add at this point and kick us off with regarding the program, and maybe explain I know that I have worked the program personally myself, and I hate to admit it, but I will, and here I am, chair of the COA board, but I'm not totally familiar with the law, and I don't know whether there are any parts of that that we, the board members, need to be aware of, so maybe you could help us with that, at least or review it.
Sure. A brief overview could probably help, especially since, we're going to be scrambling to try to find enough jobs for people. So the key points to this program is that, one, it is governed by this board, and how it's implemented is determined by this board. And I don't think it's been revisited since it first was put in place. That's probably about 10 years ago. So it's not a bad time to rethink, are we doing this the way we should? And when I say implemented, you have options on whether you choose to have eligibility requirements for participants in this program or not. Right now, Littleton operates with the only eligibility requirement is you must be 60 or older. That, of course, is in the statute. But other towns and most other agencies that run this have eligibility requirements in the way of income. That they want to make sure this goes to the people who need it the most. So some towns have an income requirement. That may be something you wish to discuss or not. The other piece of this is that we've always accepted anybody who wishes to sign up. And as Ashley said, it can get to be a big number, 130. That means you have to go try to find jobs for 130 people, and that has been difficult in the past. I know that some departments are just trying to find somewhere to place someone, whether that's cost effective for their department or not, getting people to come in and file or anything to try to help place your workers. I know in the past, sometimes they've had to be told, go find somewhere that you want to work. We don't know of any more positions, but if you can go find something to do, come back to us meaning the COA or EHS, with what you can do. I think finding 134 jobs in town is difficult. This particular year, you're not going to go into the school system. We can't, like I usually use someone to file in my office. I'm not allowed to have anyone in my office with me. The space requirements are eliminating quite a few. We don't have space even for people to stuff our checks, which we normally use. So a lot of the departments are going to be handcuffed with, they just can't put a body in the department. So I think the major decision is, how do you fairly and equitably determine who would be involved in the program this year? If you know it can't be 130, how do you determine who can be in however many slots are open? Maybe there's only 20 or 25 slots open, whatever the number is. And is this something you want to talk about going forward? A lot of towns do a rolling roster. So they know they have 25 or 30 slots. So those people do that. They go to the bottom of the list. The next 25 or 30 move up the next year. It also allows them to get the maximum. You can make up to $1,500 off your taxes. We, of course, take the appropriation that town meeting has voted and divide it by the number of people that you have signed up, and that's how much we then get it down to an hourly rate, so that each person who signed up gets the same amount. It's significantly below the maximum, of course. But there are different, you could do it the other way. You could say, I'm going to give everyone the maximum, the $1,500. That means we can take so many positions and and structure it that way. So in general, it's just a good idea for you folks to rethink and say, do we want to structure this any different going forward, especially since we know this year you're not going to be accommodating 100 people.
Thank you. That sums it up, I think. How complicated it is and brings it to the forefront. But it's a very good point. You
I
know,
will tell you something else. We also have a veterans tax work program. For those of you who perhaps didn't know, it's the exact same thing. So we're also trying to place veterans in positions. So it's further complicated by, trying to, you're competing for many of the same positions.
right. But the veterans can't apply for the senior tax write-off program and do both.
Yes, you can do both.
They can.
You can. You can't count the same hours. They have to be different hours.
Right.
Yes, but you can do both.
But that could be a factor to consider.
The veterans does not have the age eligibility. The only requirement is that you're a veteran. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
you definitely do both. Remember, in the senior tax one, it's by property, right? So
Right.
you have to own the property. It can't be in trust or unless you're the trustee. So there are sometimes we lose some people who have put their homes in trust and in their children's names. They're no longer eligible. It's not a benefit to them. The other thing I have to remind you of is it has to be a town appropriated department. This has to be a benefit to the town in an appropriated department, meaning one voted by town meeting. So Marge, I know at one time you worked for Loaves and Fishes. That doesn't count. It has to be Littleton Town Department.
Right. That was changed. Yep.
Yeah. So we have to be mindful of making sure that they're placed in appropriate and correct positions. I know a few years ago, people were working at the thrift shop. That's not a town department. That's a 501c private, enterprise. That's not a town department. So just be mindful of that, when we're trying to find jobs.
Wow.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly,
Diane?
Mark.
Do the you said that veterans basically do they have the same can someone put the same restrictions on the veterans as we could on the senior, saying testing for means eligibility or decide how they're divided up, and who is that entity that would do that?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I could pull out the veteran statute. Not as familiar with that, whether they could put eligibility requirements on it or not. I know it came out much later than the senior tax did, but I could look at it, Mark, and let you know.
And can we put the requirement that you can't do both? Can the COA prevent you from double?
May not do that. No,
Okay.
they could be eligible for both.
Okay, thank you.
The reason that I remember talking to the board way back when about eligibility requirements is they felt it was an invasion of privacy. You do have to get tax statements. Someone has to implement that, right? And monitor it. And so you're going to have to, if you were to do that, one, come up with a threshold, and two, manage it. So.
Actually, I looked online, Ann, and I printed out the sheet. It was March 23rd, 2005, when the selectmen voted to establish the program and have it coordinated by the Council on Aging. So, yeah, it's been a long time since anybody's really, and as I said, I really don't know all. I learned a lot already just from you.
And in that time, it's just grown, which is terrific.
Yes.
But it's grown exponentially, yeah.
Right, and so we do need to really ponder this, I think, folks, and figure out a way to make sure that perhaps the people that really need the help are getting the help that they need, and maybe somehow figure out a way to.
Now, in the assessor's office, there are tax exemptions for elderly and for over 70 with income requirements. And they also are allowed to do this program. And maybe if we looked back to see who got the programs from the assessor's office last year who were working in this program and not let them work this program because they're already getting something, and cut back the numbers somehow that way.
I don't know, can we do that, Ann, even?
I
wonder.
believe how you implement is up to your board.
Okay. Questions, folks? Yes, David?
Yeah, I just was curious. I heard Ann say that it was 2000 something or other, early 2000s, we were mandated by the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so I would just ask, since we're an advisory board, how does that work if we're only an advisory board? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that change was made after 2005, so perhaps it's your recommendation to I guess that's a question for Joe. And now
Right.
what process you would have to go through, because the implementation was given to the COA board.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I just pulled it off from the town website, actually, and it says to be coordinated by the Council on Aging.
Mhm.
That's the wording in the write-up that's on the town website. So, and things changed, I believe, right around 2012. I've been cleaning and I came across some documentation that made me realize when the function of the COA board changed to that of being an advisory group and advising and working with the director, but not supervising. And any supervisory types of controls were, kind of essentially eliminated. So I guess we'd have to talk to Joe before we could figure that what we want to do or what we would recommend. I mean, we can make recommendations according to our capacity now. We have, and the reason that we are viewed as an advisory group is that we tend to have, the seniors primary is our things for the seniors are our primary focus. And many of us have a lot of knowledge about seniors and where people are at, etc. So that is not to be taken lightly, in my opinion. I think the board has a responsibility to make good suggestions and to bring forth information to the director to be able to help the director figure out things too. So, but I don't know, that's another board decision, but we do function in an advisory capacity, and can we help by getting information or doing research? I don't know. But
Has anybody researched how many possible jobs would be available if we instituted the program?
now,
Yes. Has that been done?
Ashley,
Sure. So a few weeks ago, I sent out an email communication polling departments to see what they had for available work. And I would say the number of jobs, probably around 25. But I haven't sent a follow-up communication. I think it really comes down to space and how much space each department has to safely house another individual in their department, and gave a good example. She mentioned that she had someone that helped her with the filing, and that position is no longer available due to the space restrictions that we're encountering now. Everything is looking a bit different nowadays.
but it's a good time too to kind of ponder this whole thing, I think, and kind of do some research and figure out if changes do need to be made since it was first started in the way that the program is being administered. And we could make recommendations, from different people have different areas of expertise. And so It's a thought. I'm just throwing it out as a thought.
Can I ask how many people in approximate number of hours they did last year versus, you said 25 jobs, but how many hours is that total? Do we have an idea of how many people did how many hours last year and how many hours we're looking at this year?
I think last year was, correct me if I'm wrong, but up to 50 hours. And because of when the pandemic hit, everyone who was enrolled in the program last year received
Oh,
up to 50 hours worth of work, even if they didn't complete the 50 hours as of early March. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Anne?
That's right. That's right. Actually, we had so many proxy hours that had been collected. I think those had been used. So the way that it's been done, Mark, is that you must pay minimum wage. So that's the baseline. And so you divide how many employees you have signed up. So if we had 134 signed up, you would take the appropriation, divide it by the minimum wage, and come up with how many hours that represented, and how many all 134 can work. So each year, the number of hours is calculated and told to each employee. So it's usually hovered between 50 to 56, because we're always around 120 kind of enrollment. And we always have that 10 or 12 that sign up but actually do not do the work.
Okay.
If we're unable to run this program this year because of space, is there any way that some or all of that money could be put into as a donation to the TRED fund? And then we could help more people with taxes through the TRED fund?
That would require a town meeting vote, I would guess.
I think so too. Yeah, yeah.
Right, that would need to be done at annual town meeting, and you'd have to have a discussion, obviously, with Cheryl, the finance director, to do that. I think, at town meeting, any transfer can be accomplished. So. The other possibility, is it is budgeted. You do have your budget, and I don't know what it is. Maybe Ashley. I didn't look what town appropriated in May for this, but as Marge said, you could recommend to the selectmen that perhaps it's not safe to start this program at all, and you'd like to pay everyone who was on the roster last year the same this year. Your concern obviously is that some of our residents rely on this to offset their taxes.
Mhm.
So, and for some people, it's a big chunk. It's $500 that they're receiving, because they not only receive what they earn, but there's also a CPC part of that tax calculation that gets added to their abatement. So I wouldn't say it's entirely out of the question to suggest that maybe this is a once in a lifetime kind of year, and maybe extraordinary measures are required. Because the last thing we want to do is bring these high risk, this is the high risk population, right? We have to realize that, is to put them in any kind of position of harm.
Right. Okay, wow. That's a lot to digest and think about. Other questions from the board?
We don't have to do this today, do we?
I don't think we really can do it today,
No, okay.
quite frankly. Yes,
No, this requires some talking.
it does that, and some thought as to how we want to proceed, I guess. So maybe that's where we should be putting our brains at the moment, thinking about, okay, how do we want to proceed? Would it take another working group or a subcommittee actually to focus on it, to kind of research it. Maybe starting with Joe and asking the question about how the administrator sees the difference as to the role of the COA as an advisory group versus, you know, whether he sees there's any difference at all. I'm guessing, my thought is, well, we can still be useful and offer help as an advisory group, but I don't know that for certain either. So I guess that's a question I have. Yes, Patty?
I would, after listening to everything Ann said and various questions, what if we think about the possibility of being able to give the workers, all of the workers, some kind of compensation for this year and not bring them in because they're such a vulnerable group and we really don't have space. But in the meantime, we as the board have a lot of work to do. In listening to Ann, the only eligibility we have is that they're 60 or and over. Should we consider other eligibility components where Anita said, well, if they're on the they get help from the assessor's office. Should they be eliminated and not part of the program? What about the veterans? Are they part of the program? Maybe we need to look at that whole aspect and determine what do we need for these folks? What eligibility should be in place to be one of these workers? It's never been done in, 15 years? Maybe it's time that we put this in place for the future, but right now, compensate the workers.
Bless you.
Bringing them in right now, but do it planning for the future. And we could do it with a subgroup or talk as a group, but not today.
I would add to that a question, which is, if Ann is saying that there are people who received money for working jobs that they did that were not in town departments, would we give them money again this year? Because they shouldn't have been working in that program. They shouldn't have been working in those jobs anyway, and they did get money last time, but would we continue to pay them? Is another question I have.
No, you can't break the law twice. I can answer that for you, Anita.
Well,
Once is bad enough, right?
So we can eliminate the number of people who worked in non-town department jobs right away and take them right out of the picture.
Yes.
well, how did they get in the
But-
non-department job, right? You're kind of in a weird, I don't think you can do that because they don't necessarily know that they were doing something illegal, right? They said they wanted to do something for the tax write-off and a job was found for them, or they found a job and they don't necessarily know that they did anything wrong, right? So you might be eliminating someone that was in need, that was working in the thrift shop, that didn't know that working in the thrift shop was not a viable solution, right? It's
Right.
you can't pay them obviously to do that, but if you're going to pay people not to do their hours anyway, it doesn't really matter that they were doing their hours illegally before, because no one's doing their hours legally now because no one's doing their hours.
It's doing your hours, right?
Right.
Right.
Two questions. Was there anybody in the last phase of this that just ended? Was there anybody that was actually doing those illegal jobs, or is this from before, a few times before this? That's the first question. That's for Ann.
I don't actually assign those, so I don't know, David.
Okay.
My guess is yes, and the reason is because someone asked me about it. This was tackled several years ago when we cleaned it up, when Marge had to stop for loaves and fishes. There are a few other kinds of things around, and we did stop the thrift shop. How it got back in, I really don't know. I don't know
Okay,
how
so-
that got restarted.
So it wasn't in the last phase. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Second
It was.
question is,
It
All
was.
right.
I think you misheard,
So
David.
all right, maybe I did mishear.
Yeah, so I think, looking at the document from last year, probably about a handful of people were
We're
working
in.
in the,
Okay, all right. So second question, this is for Ann also. What is the deadline for the special town meeting this fall for any articles to get in, or is it already closed?
It's close.
Oh, it's
Okay,
close.
all right.
So,
So if
Ann,
we were gonna do anything, it wouldn't be till spring if we're gonna make any kind of
May.
transfers.
Right.
Okay,
And
thank you.
the other thing I didn't mention at the beginning, but the whole timing of the program is something you could discuss too. We do it on a fiscal year basis, right? They work their hours from July 1st through usually May because we need sort of May and June to tidy up and pay. Not all towns do that. I think it probably would behoove you to get some information on how other towns do it, because one of the confusion or the confusing pieces of this is they work their hours in fiscal year 20. They don't see that on their tax bill to February of 21.
right,
There's a huge delay there.
Yep.
During all this process. We used to actually pay partial. We used to do this twice. But there is a big delay there. I think that timing could be improved. I know that Ashley and I were talking to Groton. They do it totally differently, and a lot of towns do it on a calendar basis. So you're tidied up, you do it in November, December, you get it in. Because you cannot, the reason that you cannot do it till February is you cannot finalize this until the tax rate has been set by the selectmen. So that is your gating item, usually December, which is why it has to wait till February. So part of this whole process, you may want to discuss, maybe we should, rearrange the timing of this program.
I have one more question that you answered to me, Ann, when I asked the question, can we pay them this year where we were paying him illegal last year? And you said you could answer that, no. Are you saying that we were doing it illegally and we weren't supposed to be doing it, and now that we realize this, we have to stop it now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that you shouldn't pay anybody who works in a position that doesn't qualify. I agree with Mark that if you're paying everybody in the program, they're not working anything that is unqualified. They all would be eligible, right? This year, you're assuming that they would have worked in a legal position. I think that I would probably, if that's even a direction that you want to go in, I would probably, again, have Joe discuss this with Joe and ask any legal ramifications about paying employees that actually have not, the legal term in labor is suffered to work. Believe it or not, Master in the Law says you are suffered to work. Can we actually pay someone who hasn't done that? Last year, we were able to pay it out because there were proxy hours, and that is acceptable. That's in the law. I think we want to make sure we're clear that we could pay all these people without lifting a finger. So that is a question to be answered.
Oh, whether you can even do that?
I would want legal to weigh in on that just to make sure.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But it's not a question to be asked if you folks wanted to restart the program in some fashion anyway, then that, because there are outdoor jobs that can be done. David said, it's nothing we have to do now, but, time is ticking. And if you were going to restart a program, you only have so much time for people to get out there and do whatever they're going to do. I think the bigger issue is if you only have 20 or 25 jobs, a lot of people are going to be very unhappy. How come I didn't get one of those 25 jobs?
Right.
How did you choose who got the 25? Or, I think there's a lot of potential heartache here that I think is why you folks should discuss it and be on the same page with whatever you decide.
So I have a couple more questions. We said about 130, 140 people did this last year. When did they apply? When is the normal application period?
So the application period is always in July. We've always done it the first 2 weeks or second and third week of July. We've always set aside a period. It's usually 2 or 3 days in each one of those weeks. and a team from EHS, and usually someone from my department goes down. And everyone who wishes to sign up comes in, signs up. At that point, positions are assigned if they know where the positions are. Ashley's department has always handled that in the past. We take care of appropriate paperwork that may need to get done or even updated, if they've been at it for many years. So they sign up in July and then they can start right away after they've signed up.
So this year, no one came in July, so no one signed up?
We've never
Is that
had a
correct?
sign up because obviously we couldn't, right?
Okay, so we don't know how many people would be interested if we posted these 25 jobs, and we don't know that we necessarily hit the people that are most in need, because some of the people that are most in need might be afraid to come into work anyway.
I might not be able to do that particular job, one of the particular jobs too, because that factors into it, I think. There are some jobs that require more physical involvement than others, etc. And so, yeah, it's very complex. It's not a simple thing of assigning a job, because you got to make sure that the person you're assigning can do that job. So that enters into it.
Yeah, and of these 25 jobs, are we assuming they're of the 50-hour variety, or they're, are we going to say we're going to take, because it sounds like our appropriation's like somewhere around $10,000. If we divide it up between those 25 jobs, we're giving people a lot more money than we were in the past.
Right. Well, the max they
for
can
potentially
make,
a lot more hours.
the max they can make anyway is 1,500, I think Ian just said.
Correct.
Right. So, yes, but that's another thing to consider, Mark. Oh,
I don't know if we wanted to poll previous participants to see how many people would be even interested in participating this year.
well, that's true. That might factor into it. That would not be a tremendously difficult thing to do, I don't think.
I think it would be a lot harder than you think, because you have to define what participating means, right? Which we still don't know what that means. Do you want to be paid for not working, or do you want to actually, we have hours and we'll require you to work, right? There's two different means here of participate.
Well, that's true. And a lot of people would prefer to get paid without working, I'm sure. So,
I know,
but others may not.
Well, I think we have to make sure, if we're going to give these jobs, allow these people to do these jobs, they have to feel comfortable coming into the building and working with all the COVID restrictions
Right.
and feeling comfortable about that. And they probably would have to sign some kind of a waiver for insurance purposes, which they haven't had to do in the past. Is that correct, Dan?
Well, we've never signed a waiver for insurance purposes. In fact, these people are employees. They're employees as much as I'm an employee. So they are covered by the same workers' comp that I'm covered by. I don't believe a waiver would be appropriate in this case.
Well, do you think a waiver for insurance to protect the town in case someone did get COVID by coming to work for a position in the town hall?
I don't think it would be any different than if they came to work and got the flu.
Right. No, I don't think that would be like asking me to sign a waiver that if I get sick, I'm not going to, file for workers' comp. No, I don't think that. They're an employee, Anita, and an employee is an employee is an employee, so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Other questions from board members or our visitors, people that are, I don't know. Nicole, do we have anyone?
Doesn't look like anybody's raising their hand, but if you're an attendee, there's a button on your screen to raise your hand if you have something to say, and then it'll alert me and I can let you talk. If you have anything that you'd like to add or ask, you can just press that little icon, a little hand icon. Should be at the bottom of your screen.
I have one more question for Ann.
That's fine.
Is there something that says if we were to do this, we have to do all of it now? Or could we say, like right now, we know there's 25 jobs, but come March, things might be different. Could we revisit this again in March and not necessarily allocate all of our money, all of the money to the program that we have now, and say, you know, February, March, maybe things are different in the COVID world and there's more jobs in the town offices and people could come in between March and May to finish their hours that we couldn't anticipate having the hours for now.
Yes, I think you're free to implement it that way. I think what the goal is of your board is to obviously use as much money as you can to the benefit of these people. So however you choose to do that is up to you.
So
You
it's
know, the one thing you don't want to do is leave a lot of money at the table on the end of the year, right? It doesn't roll over. It's an annual appropriation.
and that's $50,000, right? We have in there now.
I did not look what the appropriation was in May that was voted.
All right, it used to be 50,000. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I thought they had upped it, but
Yeah, 55 or more. Yeah, I think it's higher than that, but it used to be 50.
I will tell you, Mark, that in the past, you have struggled to use all the money that was appropriated. And the reason is we end up enrolling people when they don't work their hours, but you didn't know that in the beginning. So when you told everyone they could only work 50 hours, it was based on, the total enrollment. So you always lose some there.
Well, even if you were doing 25 jobs, the max you can hit is 37,000. So at 1,500 a person. So
At 1,500, right? If you're paying the max, right?
so you can't even hit that until there's more jobs, no matter what.
Right.
So
you could give them all out and hope that more, might. I think the issue is how to determine who would get the job. That's the tough spot. I'm a little troubled that I hear that people think they're working the hours and they're going to put it for these hours. We never did any sign up. There's never been any formal program startup. So I'm not quite sure what all that's about.
I know of a situation that's been going on for quite a while that a person is out of town from July to October. And when they come back, they do their hours. And sometimes there's a carryover, but they always get their hours, which I think is inappropriate as well. So that needs to be looked at too.
What do you mean there's a carryover?
Well, like you may, they don't start their job until they come back in October. Okay, and so then they have October to May.
Uh-huh.
And if they haven't gotten all their hours, then they're given hours for the time that they worked before July 1st in order to get up to the 50 hours that they need.
No, that should not happen.
No.
No, well,
That's not really what's happening. The people that I can think of offhand who do go away for a portion of the year, they're doing their full hours just in a shorter amount of time.
Okay.
Right. You can do the time anywhere but in the fiscal year. It's a fiscal year budget. You
Right.
must work it in the fiscal year.
In those hours, those days, yes.
Now, we
Okay.
cut it off in May because all the timesheets have to get to Elder and Human Services. They have to be processed. We need to get them in. And so
Right.
we, do wind it down in May, but truly it's a fiscal year.
We do have someone raising their hand. So I'm going to try to, she's unmuted. Debbie, you can
Yes.
ask your question if you like.
Okay. I'm unmuted?
You're unmuted. We can hear you.
So,
Debbie.
hi. So I participated in the program a couple of years, last year and one other year. And just a couple of thoughts I had. First of all, polling counts. And I know they're looking for a number of poll workers. Some people might be interested in that, others may not. The other thing is helping people that are not in the building. So you don't need to go into the building to do it. I've done shopping for people, picking up supplies for them, medications. And I have been doing stuff all along, and I have been told, asked to keep track of that, and I have, but I understand that might not be I might not be able to use that, and that's fine. And I think having some sort of payment or something, not even the full amount, would be really helpful in getting people to assist other people in the community. It does, I like just getting something small and saying thank you for your work. And I really enjoy doing the work, and I am working the polls, and I'm doing that kind of stuff and helping another woman. So that's all I had to say, but it's all been very interesting to hear, what's going on.
Well, I think that's a very good point that you made, that we have the polls coming up in November, but we also have 14 days of early voting.
Yes, you do. Right.
And all those people that are working those 14 days could be making money.
Correct.
But we don't have a program instituted yet.
I know.
And that would have to be instituted before October 17th.
And there again, there lies the problem too, because, those people are fortunate that they might have a job for a few hours, where other people that really need the money, don't have that opportunity. So that's kind of.
That's right. You're right.
To be looked upon, as Ann said, that's really to me, that is the biggest problem here, one of the bigger problems, but is whatever we do, trying to make sure it's kept fair, and thoughtful of everybody.
I mean, if everybody from like last year, say, was getting paid, that would seem like somebody who's working would get paid the same amount as somebody maybe who's not working. And that doesn't bother me. It may some people, but I'm happy doing the work, and I like getting a little payment for it.
Right. Well, that's a good feeling. It is a good feeling. You're right.
Exactly.
Yes, it is a good feeling. So, wow. Do we have other comments? All right. So, how do we wish to leave this? And welcome, Ann Lee. Ann Lee's muted, but anyway. Hello there. So, what's the feeling of the board? Where do we want to, how do we want to proceed? I guess that's the best question. Patty summarized, I think, kind of summarized the whole issue. Do we want Ashley, should we, Ashley is going to do what she feels she has to do as the director, but maybe getting feedback from people would be helpful. I think that generally always is helpful, and I don't know how we can, it's a complex situation, and how we can disseminate information until we gather a little bit more, maybe. We could put together the broadcaster's coming out soon, the deadline for the broadcaster for November, but that pushes things off. Do we want to wait and take time? What are your thoughts?
Here's my suggestion. We believe there's 25 jobs, and there's potentially poll worker jobs coming up in a couple of weeks. I would say that Ashley or someone should poll the people that participated last year, figure out who wants to do it. We figure out how many there are and how many jobs there are and which ones we can figure out what jobs there are, and they can put their name in the hat for each of the jobs. If we have too many people, we pull a name out of the hat and tell them when we'll tell them when new jobs come along, and they can put their name in the hat for the next job, right? And we just try and make it as fair as we can that way. Since we've never done any means testing in the past, it would be really hard to institute that right now. It might be something that you could do going forward next year, but if you're looking to getting people in for the poll work in a couple of weeks, you really don't have time. So, which are one of the jobs that you might have available. So let's take advantage of all the jobs we have, and have people say, I'm interested in job X, Y, or Z, and have them put their names in the hat. And if they get selected, they do. And if they don't want to do that job, they don't put their name in the hat for that job. right? And then for the people that are actually struggling and need the funds, maybe Ashley can try and kind of figure that out as she's talking to them. And if there's extra funds left over or something, we can figure out how to put more money into the TRED fund or request the transfer to the TRED and help people out that way. Because I don't know of another really fair way of doing this.
I don't think there is really, you know, but
And I do think that there should be like a subcommittee that looks more into this going forward to figure out how it should be implemented going forward. But I don't think we have time. I think you really need to make a decision on some of these things today, or you're not going to hit some of the jobs that are, you know, the fair weather jobs that are going to go away. You have 2 months for, right? So if there's things available now, let's poll everyone that we can that was in the program last year and say, these are the jobs we have, you know, and figure out how we're going to offer them up and have people put their names in and, you know, draw from the hat. All right.
And Nicole, could I ask you a question? You must come across people that you perhaps know of needy people that have worked the program. Yeah. Okay. And Amy, I'm sure you have some insight into that too. That's one way of sometimes also looking at things, but then again, that's not fair to everybody because some people may not be known to Amy and Nicole either.
Right.
But
I think Ashley mentioned we had 11 people on proxy last year. And I think that the proxy portion of the program is an important part of it. You know, for the people who rely on the assistance, but who aren't able to do the work. I think that's an important part to consider as well. And I know Anita mentioned the TRED program. So if you were to change this and move the money into the TRED program, the deadline for TRED for this year is in 2 days. So it wouldn't go until next year. So that wouldn't work out.
For the donations, you can't take donations after September 30th?
We can, but they wouldn't go toward, I mean, you can donate whenever you want, but the donation, if you donated next month, it wouldn't affect the outcome of what people are getting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Go ahead, Mark.
Just a clarification for the people that were doing their work by proxy, is there anything we can do for them? And to, like, you know, if someone was doing one job, we could pay, you know, like let's say David was working a job, you know, doing landscaping. Could we pay him extra as part of this program to proxy for someone else? Does that make sense? If we're not going to basically allow people to work off for free, you're requiring to work, is there a way we can, how do we do the proxies if there's not the hours?
So what proxy does is an employee so they were allowed to do 50 hours last year. They did their 50 hours for their benefit, for their abatement, but then they kept working and kept track of those hours, and those hours went into a proxy pool, which EHS determines how they are allocated. They weren't necessarily worked. I don't know if they were assigned a particular person when the person was working them or not, but so the worker knew that they weren't going to get paid for them, but they were going into the proxy pool.
Right, but the problem is now we have a limited number of hours available. So the question is, with the limited number of hours, can we increase the hourly rate to effectively hit the same thing? So instead of paying someone $15 an hour, we're paying them $30 an hour, but half of that benefit's going to somebody else.
That's a good question, Mark.
It is a good question, yes.
That's a good question. We've only ever paid minimum wage, but could you vote as a board to pay an alternate rate? Yeah, let me look.
Yeah, find out. We can at least vote to make that recommendation. If we, you know, to the select board. And the way things stand now, I think. That's a very good thought. All right, does someone want, Mark, you've been very good about organizing this. Do you want to try to put together a motion for us to move forward somehow?
I move
Thinking?
that, let's see. I move that we have, I don't know exactly how to move this, right?
I know.
We move that we start the tax write-off program with the jobs that we have available, using a lottery system to, if there's more people than for the positions available. How's that?
Second,
Everybody, okay, we have a motion that we start the program, start up the program with the available jobs that we know of, utilizing a lottery system. Okay, does that help?
Is that,
Ashton, your head?
is that for the seniors who are doing the job, or is that for the proxy people to do the job?
I think that, I don't know how you do it for a proxy, right? That's the problem. The best we can do for a proxy is to overpay people and then have their funds go somewhere else. The problem with the proxy is you can't have someone working for someone else when there's no work.
The work to
Right.
do.
Right,
So the best you could do is say that we're going to pay them more than $1,500 and then they're donating the rest of their excess to someone else. But I don't know how you do that either,
no,
right? That's a weird,
I think we need to think some more about that part of it, maybe.
I don't think we can do the proxy yet.
No, I don't either,
I wouldn't get into that.
So,
no.
Yeah, at this point, you're going to have enough trouble with all the people who want to work, never mind the proxies. Yeah.
So.
I wonder though, are you going to get into an issue, like you mentioned, the polling or the election workers? If you're going to do it by lottery, aren't there people that are already, quote, trained, or they do it every year? And is that going to satisfy the department head who has the job?
Sandy already has her people that are gonna do the polling. We've all been contacted. We have our hours and when we're working.
Well,
She
that's
has
not a lottery then.
So the
but
voting, the
But she
voting,
might-
that's also not can't be a write-off.
but she might still have openings too. I don't know if anybody knows whether she's closed.
Well, the lottery went out the window.
No,
Right,
it
that's
says
not a
that,
lottery.
well, it says that it's also not the tax write-off program then, right? Because it can't be the tax write-off program because they can't have the job because the tax write-off program hasn't started yet. So it's just a job.
Well, it's a volunteer job then, because
It's either a volunteer job or something that's allocated outside of this program.
right. So then you're saying if those people have already been identified, that you don't have those positions to go in the lottery either.
well, no,
that's
like
right,
I
but-
know I'm working all day on November 3rd as a volunteer.
So that's,
So there's a position and there are two people working with me that are gonna be there all day as well. So there's really, she divides it up into three separate sections each day, and she needs 12 people each time. But I would think we should, if those are gonna be counted, we should talk to her to find out how many more she has left.
I agree.
But-
You can't do anything until you speak to Sandy and see how many openings she has.
Right, but it also can't be, Anita, you cannot be working as part of this tax write-off program because you've never applied for the tax write-off program for this year.
No,
So
that's,
you're either
I
volunteering
know
and not
that.
getting
I'm
paid, or
volunteering.
you're getting paid through some other funds. It's not a tax write-off.
right. So all the people who signed up to do the primary and did the primary, if they thought that maybe once the program started, they could use those hours, they can't. So they've already signed up now to work the election and the polls, and we haven't started the program yet. so they wouldn't be eligible either. Just like I'm not eligible. So maybe the election jobs cannot be counted in those 25 jobs that are available.
Yes.
It all depends on when you roll out the program. As soon as you have a start date in mind, then the hours are starting to accumulate.
Yeah, once they sign up.
Right. I think we lost Marge too. I don't see her now on the screen.
Yeah, and I haven't seen her come back yet.
Your captain went overboard.
I guess so. She jumped the ship.
I guess it's you, Patty.
Well, yeah. I don't know what, how, you've already got what, 12 people, 13 people? So now we're left with only 12 positions for Ashley? Is that what we're saying?
No, I'm saying that Sandy needs, each day, she needs 36 people that she had to sign up as volunteers. They're all volunteering to do the job.
All right. So it becomes legal if we open the program, say in the next 10 minutes, then it becomes legal to ask those people if they'll do that?
Well, if they signed up, then they could get
No,
paid.
I'm asking Ann.
If you open the program, yes, then you can sign up anybody you wish. I think the issue is how you're assigning those positions. Are you giving everyone a fair chance to have that position? Or are you saying, no, I already know those
Oh,
people?
we're not giving everybody a fair chance.
Right. Because they've already volunteered, those people that are doing that. So the other, say, 60 people who didn't volunteer to do that and have those positions, they didn't get the opportunity to do that. So there you go again. It's not fair if you did that.
And we have a big.
It's not a legal question or a payroll question. Yes, you open the program, we sign people up, they can work their hours. The question is how you folks assign people into those positions. Who has the authority to assign them into positions? It's actually
Ashley, were your positions going to be at the town hall?
I would say maybe like 50-50. Some positions would be outdoors, some are painting, but that's within either not town hall specific, but I think it was the police department. They asked for some painters. So it all depends on the job. Some jobs were filing, receptionist work. Other jobs were cleaning up the trails or painting. So it depends. I mean, unless, Mark, you mentioned a lottery, but when we poll people, we can ask, which department they want to work for. And then based on the department, put those people in each department bucket, and then you can kind of pull from there to try and keep it fair in that respect. And then those are the people that have also worked in that department previously, so they feel comfortable with the department, they know the operation and how things are run.
Okay, Anita.
Yes.
Now, the poll people, they were going to get paid as well?
No. No, the people who are working for Sandy are totally volunteers.
Okay.
So all the work that's done for the election on those 14 days before, the election plus the election day, that's all volunteer work.
Okay.
Now, in the past, when the senior work program started July 1st, I'm sure those people that worked the polls would have put down that they worked for the polls, and they would have got paid for that. But they didn't sign up yet they signed up with Sandy to volunteer, as I did. I'm volunteering my day to work there, not expecting to get paid because there's no senior work program.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you institute the senior work program today,
Yeah, they'll want the, yeah.
will they want to get signed up so that they can get money? I would assume they would want to do that, but I don't know that.
Well, my opinion, if they've already signed up as volunteer and the senior work program comes out, I think they're out of luck. That's my personal opinion. Because they've already committed and the program had not been instituted. Now the program's instituted. They're already busy. So to me, they wouldn't, I mean, it's just a personal opinion. It means nothing, it's just my opinion. They've already committed to something. It's like, okay, I'm off on vacation, so I'm not eligible, I'm not there. You don't have to agree. You can say, oh, fine, I'll go sign up.
And some of them may have gotten it in the years past and would say, well, how come? I'm signing up now. There's still time for me to sign up.
Well, because it's a different time and the program has been closed and now it's just opening months later.
So Ashley, out of the 25 jobs you have, are a lot of them the election or poll workers? No. Okay, so they're not in that pool anyway. Okay, so.
So we should concentrate on those 25 people.
So you're back to what Mark had suggested, which is there's these 25 positions. Go find out who wants to put their name in a hat and draw some names and get it started.
And we have,
And the only reason I say that is because most of the people who will have already volunteered for voting, there'll be very few positions available for anything else in the town. There'll be, for, like for what Ashley's looking for.
Well, and I think this has to be, to Mark's previous point, this has to be a rolling, flexible program. As more positions may come up and some department head contacts Ashley and says, hey, I could use this or I could use that. She can do it again, put a call out. Hey, I've got this position. Who wants to put their name in the hat? I've got this one. It can be a constant, hopefully, as we open up a little bit more, maybe the schools will find a position or two for us, or maybe the library will open up. I don't know. So yeah, it's not just what you decide today, but it's going forward. And every time something opens up, as you said, put your name in the hat and we'll do the best we can. The problem with that is that you won't know how many hours someone can work. So what you'd have to, because you don't know how many participants you're going to have for the year.
Right.
So what you would have to do is say, this year maybe we're going to do the max, or we're going to cap it at $1,000 each or something. But you could do the 1,500 and say, everyone's going to get 1,500 until, what is that? You think you have $50,000? Is that what you think?
I think it's that. It may be more, but I think it's that.
So you can handle 33 people. Once you get to 33, you have to be done if you're allowing them the max. Or you can be more conservative and say, 1,000, and we'll go up to 50.
What's minimum wage that we're paying now?
It's not what's minimum wage now, it's what we pay it, so that will be next June, and that'll be $13.50 an hour.
And who decides how much we pay them?
It's always been minimum wage. That's why I said I was going to research your question as to what's the authority to pay them something else.
I believe it, excuse me, I'm sorry, my computer just died on me, so I had to turn it back on and reboot and everything. But I believe in the, what's on the website, it talks about the minimum wage somewhere in here. Yeah, I was looking for it, but I can't find it quickly here, but it does refer to the minimum wage. Okay, they're paid at the Massachusetts minimum wage hourly rate.
Which
Yeah,
is
but is that the statute or is that some town of Littleton or council on aging document?
This is the document that's on the town website under senior citizen property tax work-off program. And it says the property owners over age 60, et cetera, provide services to the town of Littleton in exchange for a reduction on the amount paid on their property tax calculated from the budgeted amount for the program, the number of real estate property owners that signed up to work the program, the required hours to be worked, and paid at the Massachusetts minimum wage hourly rate.
Actually, I just found it in the statute. It actually says they cannot receive credit for their services is at an hourly rate higher than the state's minimum wage. So they must be paid minimum wage.
Oh, so we can't increase it.
No.
I just found it in the statute.
Okay. That changes things too.
So you probably don't have an issue with hours because we just don't have enough job and hours. People are just working as much as they can and you'll pay out as much as you can.
It'd be strictly lottery then.
I think it would have to be, wouldn't it? I lost track of what you've had for a conversation, but
I just feel I feel bad for the people that got their money through the proxy because they might not be in the lottery.
They could be.
Why? Yeah.
So a proxy is just like they are the employee. It's as if they are here. So their name goes in the hat. If their name is pulled, all they need to do is find someone to work for them. They are the employee, not the person working the work.
Okay.
So they can still benefit.
So they could benefit. Their name goes in. The issue would be either someone in EHS or that person's whose name got pulled would have to find someone to work the job for them.
So, but it's possible to not exclude them, Anita, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We had a motion and seconded on the floor.
So we never dealt with that. It was
No, we didn't deal
that's
with
when
that.
I all of a sudden disappeared. Okay, and the motion at the time was to start the program with available jobs utilizing the lottery system. I think that was the motion. And then there was a lot of discussion. I don't know whether something was added to that or not. No? All right.
It was seconded, but we
It
never
was
got
seconded by David. Mark made the motion, David seconded it.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's true.
Okay, are you ready to vote? Any more discussion on it?
Nope.
All right. So, I just read the motion to you again. I'll take a roll call vote. Mary?
Yes.
Yes. Mary, okay, going back over here. Anita?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
David?
David says yes.
All right, Mark?
Yes.
Ann Lee?
Yes.
And Marge is a yes. All right, I think it's a unanimous vote. Thank you. And we have not yet decided, but I would like your thoughts on it real quickly because we do have a second agenda item. But my question is, do you feel we should develop a subcommittee for exploring this in more in depth past this year? Looking at the
Yes.
whole big, yes?
Yes.
We're in, okay. So we can bring that up at our next, we're meeting again October 19th. I would just ask you to please put your thinking caps on. We're getting one subcommittee off the ground this Friday, and we can develop that subcommittee on the 19th. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Or do you wish to do it today?
I think the 19th
Everybody-
is great.
Okay, all right, that's our plan.
I think Ashley had her hand up.
Yep, Ashley.
I just wanted to mention that a resident was listening in earlier and he had expressed interest in being part of a subcommittee if that in fact takes off, to look in more depth at the senior tax work-off program. So I don't know, I mean, we can table this until October 17th, but I just
Right.
wanted to mention it.
Thank you. I did notice that he was with us, so thank you, Ashley. All right. And thank you all, and thank you, Ann Essman, for spending the time with us. It certainly was eye-opening. And that will give us some time, too, to double-check with Joe Layden about his perception of the role of the board and clarifying, making sure I'm right in my thinking about this and everything else, too. So,
And what you could do with any funds that are left over, what are your options? I think that's something you need to explore.
okay.
And the way this will go is we won't have the traditional sign up, right? We actually will poll and see who wants to go in and say, okay, these are the jobs, who's
Right.
raising their hand for those jobs. Whoever she pulls out for the lottery is who we will bring in to sign up. We're not going to sign up 100 people and only use 25, right? So
Correct. We
it's gonna
can,
be a little bit different this year.
and we can get that out, we can get it in the broadcaster for sure, Ashley, right? I think.
So I probably want to reach out to participants that participated in the program last year, in addition to advertising in the November broadcaster.
Right. I think those are the first two items. The deadline for the broadcaster, I know, is a week from today, so that's the only reason I'm mentioning it. So it comes around awfully fast every month, so.
It would
All right,
probably
well,
be
it's
good to have
lovely
it
to see
on.
all of you. I'm going to sign off unless you need something else.
Do we have any more questions for Ann? If not, thank you, Ann.
All
ever so
right,
much.
bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
And who started to speak?
I
Mark?
did. I was
Okay.
going to say it would be nice to probably to have an ongoing list somewhere of what the jobs currently open are, or the upcoming ones, so that people could figure out how to put their name in the hat. And you're not contacting them every, right now we're saying there's 25 jobs, but maybe next week 5 more open up, and you don't want to have to go through and contact 140 people and say, are you interested in one of these 5? And we can figure out how to let them know how to find out what current positions there are as new ones come up. Put them on the website or something like that, or, whatever the best way is to communicate with them. The broadcaster might be too slow. I'm not sure.
Oh, I think it would be too slow for that. I don't know. It's up to Ashley, I think. She probably has thoughts on that.
I think we can figure out the mechanics on our end in terms of how the lottery will work and how we match people to positions.
Yeah.
But good ideas.
That is a challenge, just matching the position and the job, I think, too. So. All right. Thank you all. That was one of the prime reasons we decided that we needed to have a special meeting for this. And the other agenda item, the Hager Homestead is on the agenda because if you recall, Diane Loomis came to our board meeting on September 14th and gave a presentation to us on the Hager Homestead property and requested that we, determine whether or not we felt we could support the project or we were not going to support the project. We never did get back to that piece because we had a lengthy meeting on other topics. And so I felt that since we were having a special meeting and since the Hager Homestead proposal is on the agenda for the planning board this Thursday. I think it's at something like 8:15. They're on their agenda again. And I know that they were most anxious to feel that they're going to be moving ahead or they're not, because the sale of the property or the agreement, I forget what you call it. Anyway, the deadline was coming for that. But they have not actually purchased the property yet, and they were looking for more direction. So we put that on the agenda. And as some of you, I hope all of you, did happen to see the email that Diane Loomis sent to us this morning. She is aware that we are discussing this again at our special meeting today to see if we can come to a decision one way or the other as to whether we are supporting their proposal or not. So with that in mind, if you did not see the email that she sent out a statement about the fact that they have changed a little bit of the design with the building on the front portion, the main area there being reduced by 57 feet. And she had some 2 letters that were sent in to the planning board, one from the Congregational Church and another from, I think it was Mr. Haddad. Pardon me?
Haddon.
Haddon. Okay, thank you. I couldn't put my finger on that. And also there is another, I don't even know what happened to it. I had that one. Yes, here it is. And there was another, I went on the website, the planning board link that she provided, and there was another letter sent to them in support of it from Judy Braylove, and an additional letter too from another couple on the bars from Manawanaki Trail in Littleton supporting it. So just for general information, and they all had reasons, similar reasons for supporting it. So the question for the board is our feelings about the Hager homestead and whether Anna Houston is with us. I just see her there. Hi, Anna. Welcome. So, and Anna is here. We could ask her questions if we have any questions. So essentially that's our task, to determine where we stand on this particular project that is before the planning board. And I will kick it off, let it go. Anybody? Questions? Patty Hunt and Susan have been sharing responsibility on trying to follow what's going on with the planning board now. We kind of lost track for a few months there, and we're back on track again, Anna. So just so you know that we're back, hopefully on track. So Patty, do you have anything you want to add? In particular, you did attend their last meeting, and I know that you are, you have shared with me the packet that Maren shared with you. So do you have anything you want to add at this point while we kick this off?
Well, I went through the packet tooth and nail, which unfortunately I like to do, and then looked at the material this morning. It's an incredibly interesting concept, one that's not very familiar in this area, and really in a lot of the United States. I like the concept. It offers an awful lot to seniors and anybody who lives there, actually. It's very different. It's not something that's familiar to a lot of people. It gives one pause because you have to be very open to it, because co-housing is not nursing home. It's not assisted living. It's not even like Shattuck Street, living in an apartment in a complex. It's sharing, from my perspective. And some people say people in New England are cold people and they don't want to be friendly to other people. But this concept of this co-housing is sharing, being together. You still have your own apartment or condo or house or whatever you want to call it, your own complex with your own living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, your own home. But there's a common area where there's the anticipation and expectation that you're going to greet and meet people all the time, your neighbor, you're going to become friendly. You're going to become dependent upon each other, like family. It's a really nice concept. It's something I think that'll grow on people when they get to learn what it is and understand what it is. It has a varied complex of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, standalone in the big common house with different apartments. It's so varied, it offers a lot. From my personal perspective, I would recommend the board support it. One thing it is not for low income. I will say that first and foremost, but should we support it? From my perspective, we should. Everything I've read, and I think when I say it's not low housing, another aspect to think about is the real estate market is not something that's going down. It's never going to go down. It's up there, it stays there, it just doesn't go down. And that's a fact of life. But it's a nice idea. And I like the concept. I think it's something we should be open to looking at and supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Do we have comments, Susan?
I personally agree with Patty. It's a concept which is new. The organization never promoted it as affordable housing. It was a senior residential project. But what I'd also like to add is there is benefit for the whole town in terms of open land at the back of the property. They are planning to keep that as open land, and they're creating a trail that will connect the town hall to the castle in the trees. So and that will be open to the public in terms of also adding open space for everybody in town. And I think in some of their literature, they have talked about having programs that obviously will be for their residents, but that will also be open to all seniors in town. So that's another piece.
Other comments from board members? Questions? We have Anna Houston here. She can answer questions for us. Let's take advantage of it. Not to put you on the spot, Anna. But.
Well, I have a question for Anna then.
Okay.
The project, the organization says they never promoted it as an affordable housing. But my understanding, and this is where you can definitely correct me, my understanding is that developers in town have the option of providing some units as affordable, or, well, that's the option they chose to go with. But at the last planning board meeting, it bothered me watching it that the planning board seemed to be really hung up on even the market value of those apartments or those units. And I didn't think that the planning board could be making it sound like they were going to not approve the project because of the cost. And I don't mean just for the affordable units. Am I clear?
Yes.
Susan, thank you for your question. Anna Houston, Jennifer Street, also a Littleton Planning Board member. I appreciate everyone's comments today and allowing me to respond to the question. So with respect to the affordability component, let me just backtrack for a minute and provide some historical context. So when Cooper Farm went up, it was under a specific bylaw that indicated that 25% of the 55 plus needed to be affordable units. It was determined that that wasn't a sufficient number for Littleton. And so in October of 2017, the brand new senior residential development bylaw was voted in at town meeting and accepted. And at that point, under the 10% affordable inclusionary, we received applications for Jones Meadow and Weber Village. Because we were only getting that 10%, the developers were not providing more as was projected. The planning board, and this is when I joined, the planning board in fall of 2018 then said, well, let's go back to town meeting and make sure that our bylaw says that we want enough affordability in any development for our seniors. And so in October of 2018, Mark Montanari, Ed Mullen, and I spoke at town meeting about how we were amending the bylaw with this language so future senior developments would provide more affordable units. And so that language basically says, it's right here, 173-198, for any senior residential development subject to Article 29, inclusionary housing, 50% of the dwelling units shall be affordable housing. So it currently rests in our bylaw that 50% of any housing in our senior residential development, which this is, shall be affordable. And the shall be is kind of the key point there. That basically means it has to be. Provided, however, that the planning board may reduce the required number of affordable units to not less than 25 if it chooses to even do so. My personal opinion on this is that since this is the first development under the bylaw amendment, if we approve this particular application, then future developers are going to say, oh, well, you let that first one go through and they only had to provide 25, so we only want to provide 25. What we'd like to do is, get out of, hit this out of the ballpark and get closer to 50% being affordable. The bylaw, which again, we all approved at town meeting, October 2018, goes on to say that in all cases, the affordable units shall range from 60 to 150% of AMI. Their last proposal that they presented did not include a unit at 60%. So, and it does say that this range, if you will, of affordability is at the discretion of the planning board. So I really appreciate the question, Susan, because I totally agree. This is not supposed to be an affordable project, but our own bylaw that we voted in says that 50% shall be affordable units. And that's the point that I kind of keep going back to, and why I stood before a town meeting and said, we want more affordable units for our seniors. And that's where this is coming from. And I really want to maintain that. I don't want us to accept anything less, because I think that if I were to vote yes at this point, then I think that I would be accepting less than the minimum required in our bylaw, and I can't do that. With regard to the market values, the market value is what the developer believes they can get in the marketplace. And from that perspective, I do agree. We are not in a position ever to identify market values. We can continue to, I guess you could say, talk about this with the developer and state it from what's in our bylaws. So when I speak about affordability, that's where I'm coming from, is this particular piece in our bylaw. And it is actually on the Hager Homestead website at this moment. You will see it in there. Yeah.
And
Can I
Go ahead,
ask?
Susan.
Mark?
Go ahead. Yes.
So that was affordability is 60 to 150%, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
60 to 150% AMI, yes.
And you were right, they didn't have one at 60. They started at 80, right?
Correct. And yes, and so that is part of why I am still looking to the applicant to continue to do whatever they need to do, because if they want this to happen, then I believe they need to meet our bylaw, because it's there for a reason.
Right. Thank you for that explanation. I'm clear now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, David, do you have a question?
Yeah, yes, I do. Hi, Anna, how are you? David Still. Hi. I'm reading from the Congregational Churches letter. Have you seen that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So it's been a while since the last meeting that I got to see the plans as they were laid out in the presentation. But I was just wondering, I'm trying to add everything up. So it says 6 affordable units and then 18 market rate units. So that's 24. So is that the amount that's actually being built, is 24 units?
Correct. 24 is the number that is being proposed.
Okay, so if we follow our town bylaw, then 12 of those have to be affordable.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Okay.
If the bylaw was put in place to do just this, I agree with you, Anna, that we have to stick to that and not let the builders come in and say, well, you know, I want to do this or I want to do that. If the bylaw was put in place for a specific purpose, I hope the planning board follows that.
And you said that this was the first time it's going to be implemented, this bylaw?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And I just printed it off from the their website, or that link. Actually, it was in the link, I think, that Diane Loomis sent to in the email to Ashley and I this morning, and I forwarded to all of you. And I actually printed off the original zoning amendment on senior residential development that went, you know, came first, and then the bylaw, the changes on Article 12. And so, yep, it's right there, Anna, I see it. So, and I think you're right. I love the concept, and I think it's a great development, and it would enhance the town. But I also feel that they need to adhere to the bylaw and not play games with the planning board on trying to get, you know, more bang for their buck type of thing, and less for us. So.
Can I ask another question?
Certainly.
Are all of the units that are proposed here, are they all going to have a deed restriction that they have to be sold to over 55?
Ms. Harding, so thank you for that question.
Anita's fine.
Oh, okay, Anita. So at this time, we have not even arrived at that discussion point with the applicant. So, there are still outstanding questions and topics to discuss, and that is one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Other questions for Anna about this? Seeing none, then.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead, Anna, please.
I just had a quick comment. It relates to housing in general. I noticed that you all are having your visioning meeting on Friday, and I wanted to just inquire whether or not you think senior affordable housing as a topic will be part of your visioning.
Oh, actually, we haven't developed all of our goals yet, but yes, our affordable housing, one of our goals is focused on visioning for the senior center. And that's the focus of this group on this meeting. But the affordable housing piece of things is the other big need that we are always write some goals for this year. And we do need to complete those goals. But yes, definitely yes. And that's when I don't know whether COVID hit us all because we kind of dropped the ball for a couple of months there, back in March and April. And Patty had been avidly following, the planning board and working with Mayor and keeping track of what was going on for us. And she still is now. So, and Susan's joined her. So now we have 2 people, which is good. And there'll be 2 primary contacts if you ever have a need, or including anybody on the board, obviously, but
Absolutely.
they're really picking up the ball now and going to be running with it, because those are the 2 big needs that seniors have, more space and affordable housing. So, yeah.
Well, and likewise, if I can be of any assistance or if we can work together, I'm more than happy to. So thank you, folks.
Well, thank you. You always have been so available. So thank you for everything you do for us.
All right. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
All right. I will entertain a motion.
This would be a motion,
A motion to
approve or not approve?
recommend or to support. We could support it if they make a few changes. Maybe we could have a motion to that effect. So, I don't know where the rest of the board feels is on that, but anyway.
So
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
Mark.
Oops, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Mark.
Mary's got her hand up. I
Oh,
didn't know if
sorry,
you wanted to make
Mary.
a motion or.
Mary, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I was gonna make a motion that, the COA board support the concept of the, Hager Homestead proposal going forward. That we support the concept of the Hager Homestead proposal.
Support the concept.
Yes,
So you're suggesting,
as we go forward.
No.
I think it needs to be a little bit more specific, maybe. But go
Yes.
ahead, Susan.
I think what Patty's trying to do, but I'm not trying to put words in Patty's mouth,
You've got my paper.
supporting the concept of
The
housing.
proposed senior residential development proposal.
I would still put in there the co-housing piece of it.
Well, yeah, the Hager Homestead co-housing proposed senior residential development project.
Say that again, Patty. Say that again, please, Patty.
You want me to say it again? Let me write it out, you talk.
All right, David, speak.
I think it should include language that says that it must adhere to all town bylaws.
I agree with that myself.
Okay.
I agree with that.
It has to,
All
it
right,
has to say that.
you say
Can I-
it, David. I'm having
I was
trouble.
going to suggest that we support co-housing in Littleton and support the Hager Homestead project as they come into compliance with the town bylaws. If they come in,
If they come in compliance.
yes. We support co-housing in Littleton and would support the Hager project if they come in compliance with town bylaws.
I like that. Do you like that, Mary?
Okay.
How about with the,
Now what
how
do
about with
you
the
else have to say?
specific,
Say it. Say what he said.
Go ahead, Mark.
We
Okay.
support co-housing in Littleton and will support the Hager project if they come in compliance with the town bylaws.
Okay.
The only caveat to that would be, I totally agree. I agree with that. But didn't Anna say that the town bylaw also says that the planning board could go down to 25% affordable? And that's what this developer has done. He's at 25% because he's got 6 units.
Well, it says, they have it right in front of me.
Discretion, and they choose not to. But I mean, I can see the developer coming back and saying, well, they supported following the bylaws, and we are.
I thought there was only 4 affordable housing
There's
marked.
six at that
You
60.
have it.
There's 6 at the 60 to 150%. Well,
So
not at
we-
60, 80 to
Where,
150.
let me read you what it says. I have the bylaw right in front of me as it was amended. And it says that, to begin with, 50% of the dwelling units shall be affordable housing, provided that the planning board may reduce the required number of affordable units to not less than 25% of the total dwelling units. So therefore, maybe we should say that when you say just become in compliance with town bylaws, that's still too general, I think. I think we
I
need,
think it should say that it complies to the town bylaw at 50% and nothing less. Because that's the bylaw.
Yeah.
And that's what Anna was trying to say, the 50%.
Right.
I
And
think,
keep it that way.
No,
I put that right in our motion.
I don't know that I agree with that. If what Marge just read said it was 25%, then the bylaw says 25%, right? It's
It
up to the
does
planning
say-
board.
The
It
bylaw
to negotiate.
go to 25.
it says that the planning board may reduce it, and Anna's argument was she didn't feel that for the first development that the planning board should, reduce it to 25. They could reduce it to 35. Or, from 50 to 35%, but it says it to no less than 25% of the dwelling units. And therefore, Anna was saying she really didn't want to start out with the first, building with doing that. She felt that the planning board should be a little bit tough-nosed on it, I guess.
Well, I think you're setting a precedent right away.
That's what she's saying. That's right. She doesn't want to set a
If you don't
precedent.
want to do that, then everybody's going to say, oh, I can only do 25.
Right.
It'll never be 50%.
Other comments?
I just looked up to answer Patty's. They have 6 affordable units, but they go 80 to 150% AMI. They don't have a 60. And Anna said they needed at least one at 60%. So I would think they need that. I understand Anna's point that the planning board doesn't want to give in on the 50% right in the first time. But just a personal feeling, I think that this complex is so unique and so different that maybe that it is worth doing. But that's a personal piece, not, I understand where the planning board's coming from, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. And maybe there's a compromise where they take them down to 30% rather than the bare minimum. And then they both can claim a win, right?
Right. And maybe we should put that in our motion, that we would request that they do that.
We'll
I don't
negotiate
think,
for
but
you.
yeah, I don't want to get into telling the planning board what they have to, should or shouldn't approve either, right? And like, I don't want to say 50% or anything like that, because that's up to them to negotiate. It's not up to us to negotiate. I think as they follow the bylaw to whatever the agreement they work out with the planning board, then I think it's a great concept and we support it. If the planning board can't agree, then it's a shame that they can't come to an agreement, but it's also out of our hands anyway. So
That's true. And I agree with you. And I now that I understand, and I researched the bylaw this morning myself and, realized where they were coming from. So how would you like the motion to be worded here? We have the COA
Patty's motion.
Pardon me?
I said it was Patty's motion to begin with.
Right. This is what I have down though. Let me know how you want it written. The COA supports co-housing in Littleton and supports the Hager project if they become in compliance with town bylaws. No, yes,
Yes.
changes,
Yes.
I
Yes.
second that.
second that. I didn't make the motion. That's just, I was just reading it. Somebody made
You,
the
re-
motion.
you read the motion.
Okay. That's what I have written down. So David and Ian Lee, I believe.
Yep.
All right. I'll take a roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Anita,
Yes,
Susan,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Ian Lee,
Yes.
and Marge is a yes. Okay. All right, we have a unanimous vote to support it if they become in compliance with the town bylaws. And that does leave it, put it right back in the planning board's hands.
Yes.
I love the concept, I must say, and I think it's a beautiful way to develop that property. But again, town bylaws are town bylaws. So,
I agree, and I would encourage the planning board to think outside of the box and negotiate, right?
I'll mention that because I will send a letter off to Maren about our vote today. So, thank you. All right. Is there any other business to come before the board? I've lost track of time myself. Oh, good heavens, we went over our usual time here. If there is no other additional business, I will remind you our next meeting is October 19th because the 12th is a holiday, I believe. And no, town people won't be there. Nicole and Ashley couldn't come to our meeting then. We can't do that. So I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Who said that?
Second?
Susan say that?
No, Ann Lee did.
Ann Lee. Sorry, Ann Lee. And David.
Seconds.
Thank you. And Patty, Mary, Patty.
Yes.
You are voting yes? Anita?
yes.
Susan?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Lee? And Marge is a yes. So we have a unanimous vote. Thank you kindly. And I appreciate your spending the time with this meeting. I didn't think it would take this long, but it did. So. And have a great week, everybody.